All right, if you're interested in HTMX, but you don't really know how to use it, this is for you. I've been using it for about a year, and I thought I would put together a quick tutorial to walk you through the basics. I am not going to try and teach you everything about web development. There's a lot of stuff in there. Obviously, it's built with a fast API and a bunch of other things. I'm not going to teach you anything about that. But if you want to learn a little bit more about HTMX and how you would use it in a real scenario, then this is for you. You can go on GitHub and clone this repo, gitverus/htmx-ai-chat. After this, you can actually go and start seeing the different steps that I put in there. So what you'll see is there's obviously the README that actually walks you through how to run it and walks you through every single steps. And the steps are actually those 7 steps that I've actually built here for this tutorial, starting with, and we'll see that in a second, the basic chat, all the way to kind of like the full-blown ChatGPT clone that we're going to build today. We're gonna get going. I'm gonna go and open the terminal, and you'll see in the README that there's a command that you're supposed to run here once you've actually installed the dependencies. But basically, you can paste this into your terminal, and it should run the app step 1. There you go. So what you'll see in that first step is actually a very simple interface. It's a form. You submit the text, and then you get an answer from you submit the message, and then you get an answer from in this case OpenAI. I mean that's just the usual kind of AI chat interface that you've seen before. The code for this is really not that complex. I think the first step is really all about kind of explaining to you how to use an OpenAI API, or really kind of any AI API really, because they're all very similar. But what you'll see from this is that you have basically the message that you just go and send to the OpenAI API, and then you get an answer back, and then you just display that. And it's very crude, obviously. It's really not optimal because it's just a simple form, and we send that over to Fast API, and the page actually may take quite a long time to go and display because well, maybe there's quite a long answer, and it takes a few seconds for OpenAI to actually go and come back with the answer. But that should just go and show you the basics of how to use the OpenAI API. Obviously, you'll need to go and add an environment, a .env file with like your OpenAI API key as an environment variable. I'm not going to show you mine, but you know how to go and do that. But yeah, it's pretty simple code. It's a single call to the OpenAI API, and that should just gonna help you understand, well, how do you actually use the OpenAI API? Okay, done. This is not great though, because every single time, as I said, every single time we actually go and send a request, it takes quite a while to go and display. So instead of having this, what I like to do is every time I'm actually asking a question, I just really only want to go and refresh a tiny part of the page for the answer. I don't need to go and reload the entire page. Only give me this answer back from the backend, and it'd be also nice to have like some sort of like indication that something's going on, right? That the answer is coming, and this is what we have in step 2. So I've just loaded step 2, and I'm going to ask another kind of question. So what is HTMX, for example? And as you can see now, I have a loading message, and then again the same kind of interface. Although you would note that if I actually were to ask a second question, is HTMX better than React, for example? I actually would get, there you go, I would still have the thread, or at least it would visually look like a thread. And here you can see it's not actually formatted properly. It should actually go and be, yeah, it should respect the original formatting, but we'll get to this in a second. Yeah, so let's look at the code quickly and probably the highlights for it. I think the code is still pretty much the same. There's not really any major change apart from, we'll get to this like in a second, the HX request. But let's start with the front end that I think is the more interesting part. So we've declared, well, first we added the HTMX dependency. We've declared this that you'll understand in a second, which is required for us when we actually go and use something called HX indicator that just actually helps us hide and show the indicator as the request is actually going on. And then we have like the logic to actually go and display the thread. And then so here is the real magic, right? So this is the form that we already had in step one. And what we've actually added is we've added HX attributes. So you have, for example, HX past here, which basically indicates, well, you can use the HX way to actually go and retrieve that slash route. And then we specify HX target, which is the idea for this bit here, where we have the chat list. So we just say, hey, the content you're going to go and refresh once you get an answer back from the server, it's going to be here. And pretty important, we actually go and give a HX swap, in a swap strategy. And what we say here is you just will append the content right before the end of this element. So what it's effectively going to do is append the answer at the bottom of our thread. And then what else do we have? Yeah, a few more things that are actually interesting. So HX disabled element. This basically tells us that the submit button should be disabled while the post request is going on, so that we just prevent basically the user from submitting multiple messages in parallel. Like we want to wait until we have an answer before we let the user ask another question. And then we have HX indicator here, which is basically telling you that while the request is still in flight, you should actually show that loading indicator, which is the message we have here at the end below the thread, which is that loading message that you saw on the interface. And then finally here, a little bit of an illustration of like how we use events from HTMX. In this case, to basically wipe the content from the form so that the input actually is cleaned up, and it's just making sure that we still retain the focus in the text area. There's a little bit more to it here and there, but that's the gist of it. I think it's simple enough, but yeah, effectively it just gives us that pretty interactive. I mean, we don't have a full reload, right? So, and I think you can see that already, but let me show you the network. Yeah, so when I'm actually going and sending a request, so for example, when was HTMX created, I get just a partial refresh here. I didn't get a full page refresh. I just got just a tiny request that got us the fragment that we're interested in. And then to conclude on that, the reason here we got that fragment is because on the backend side, and you can do that obviously in any language, when we receive an HTMX request or in a request that was originated by an HTMX call, we actually go and get that header in the request, which allows us to actually potentially route the logic here in this case of saying, well, you don't do like you do here, which is displaying the full page. You actually go and only display this fragment, which is the message pair, like the assistant and the user message all at once. I have the partial here. There you go. But yeah, it's decided because we have that request in the header. So that's kind of like HTMX 101. Now we still have an issue, which is if I reload the page, actually, I can see that I kind of lose the whole history. Also, you didn't really notice that, but it's not really aware what's going on in the whole thread. Every time we actually go and do a request to OpenAI, we just send the latest message, which means that it has no idea what is the full context of the conversations that we had. And for us to actually be able to do better, we're going to need to go and add basically just simple SQLite persistence. So I'm going to go and show you that really quickly. There's not really anything related to HTMX here, but you'll get the gist of it. So um, uh, what is HTMX again? And there you go. I have the same interface more or less. And then I'm going to go and ask, are you sure? And it's aware of the conversation that we just had. So when I say, are you sure? It knows that what we talked about right before is actually HTMX. So the way I'm doing this is, well, first I have the persistence. I'm actually saving the data in the database now. I'm in SQLite. And then more importantly, you'll see that, and you can look more in detail later on, when I'm preparing the request to OpenAI, I'm actually also including the whole context of our message history here. So you can see that later on, but basically I prepare basically the history of messages that preceded the latest message that you just sent, and so that gives OpenAI the ability to understand, okay, what's been the conversation prior to that. Okay, so that's just regular OpenAI and SQLite stuff, so I'm not going to go and spend too much time on this. Let's move on to the next step, because right now we have an app, but it doesn't look very good. And so obviously we want to go and make it like prettier. And to do that, I'm going to use my own library, base code. And there you go. So um, before I show you, well, again, I can show you here what is HTMX. Um, and then now we have like, a much nicer interface. So we have the loading that actually go and shows with that pulsating style. And then we have proper formatting for, um, proper layout, and you can see the form elements here are styled, etc., etc. And I've also added actually the support for dark and light themes. So base code is my own library. I built it while I was actually working on HTMX. It's built specifically for people who don't want to go and use React components. It's just basically a clone of ShatCN UI, which is a very popular design system for React apps, but it's built for regular HTML, CSS apps, so and JavaScript, right? But yeah, so you have all those components by default, and what I'm using right now is actually the CDN version, and I'll just talk about it really quickly. Um, you'll see that in the template here. So I'm obviously doing a bunch of things. You can look uh, into this when you clone the repo, but I'm using those two things, which is what you need to include to actually use the CDN version of base code. I still have the HTMX dependency here, but I'm also loading up the Tailwind Play CDN, which also allows me to go and use basic Tailwind classes without having to go and have like a local bunch of like npm packages and a Node.js pipeline. So that works. There's a few gotchas here. Like I needed to go and add this to actually go and support the dark theme, and there's also a little bit of logic here for actually switching the theme between dark and light. But it's nothing really too complicated. Basically, I'm just like storing the value and then just deciding like whether or not I add a dark class to the HTML element. That's about it. Again, there's more to it, but you can look into the code yourself, and it's just really regular kind of Tailwind CSS type of deal. The last thing that I would say is, yeah, base code, you'll see I have a bunch of, these are like specifically base code classes, like for example, button, or here text area. Those are actually classes that you get from base code to go and style the elements. But great, we have now a better looking interface, which works a lot better. And good, but we still have the really annoying kind of flow where whenever you ask a question about, like, for example, who is the creator of HTMX, you get kind of like both those, the message that you sent and the answer back from the LLM all come at once. And if the answer is actually taking a little bit of time to go and come back, you don't really see your own message before, well, before the request come back. So I wanted to go and change this, and that's what we have actually in step number 5. So in step number 5, and I'm going to want to switch to step number 5 here. In step number 5, there you go. What we have finally here is the ability to actually go and get a nicer kind of flow here. So what is HTMX? When was it created? And I'm going to go and ask by whom. Okay, so as you can see now, I have the message immediately, and then I get the answer back from the LLM. So the way that we do that is it's a good way to go and illustrate how you start to go and compose HTMX concepts to go and do things that are maybe more complicated. And it's still obviously not that complicated, but the way that we do that is a few things. We basically still use HTMX to go and get, let me see, yeah. So go basically get an answer. It's still mostly the same as what we had before, but then what we end up sending back to sending back to the user is actually that fragment here that has the user message that you just sent, and a second fragment here that has another HTMX call, and that call is like to specifically the this endpoint that actually gives us the answer to our specific message. And again, we compose with, like, here, we have like the thinking message that we actually go and see while the system is actually waiting for the answer back from OpenAI. Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. Maybe the one thing to notice here is that the trigger here is on load. So as soon as the fragment is loaded in the front end, this is going to go and trigger this, the hx get, which is then going to go and call our new endpoint here for messages, which is where is it? Here, there you go. And that's where we actually go and do the call to the LLM. So the first endpoint really just gets us the fragment, and so that's immediate because it's actually local, like there's nothing to process. It's just a template, and then we cascade to actually going and doing the call to OpenAI. And so I'm going to go and show you that here. Let me go back to the network. So I'm going to go and make this question. I get a first request here, which is to our local, to our server, and then we get a second request here that then gets us the answer from OpenAI. So yeah, I mean, that's it. I think what's important to understand with HTMX is that oftentimes the simpler and cruder and maybe even dumber way is the better way. You really shouldn't just go and overthink things, and you really need to go and break away from the concepts you may have learned from, like, using React or Vue.js, or of kind of managing state at a global level, or kind of like trying to go and just like update bits and pieces of the interface. Oftentimes it's just easier to just say, oh, well, I need to go and just update that whole chunk. I'll just go and make a request for it, and then off you go, and not try and go and retain too much of the management of state in the interface. It's actually really a bad idea to go and start doing this with HTMX. It's going to get you in a world of trouble if you do that, a world of pain. Just don't do it. Really take the easy way out. Okay, so now we have this works. It looks nice. It's got persistence. We already have like a better feedback from the interface, and that's fine. But what I like to do next, let me go back to my code, is in step which step are we at? We are at step number 6. In step number 6, we're gonna go and make things a lot more complicated. Well, not really, but more complicated nonetheless. Yeah. Still looks the same more or less, but you'll see that if I ask what is HTMX, I'm going to get a much better flow here. Now I have streaming. Now it's actually going and streaming things as the answers are coming back from OpenAI. So the way that we do this is just using SSE, server-side events, which is, what most modern web apps do under the hood. Although it's usually really wrapped in a lot of in libraries and JavaScript and whatnot, but really it's just like it's server-side events. Sometimes WebSockets as well, but in this case, server-side events are actually the right fit. To do that, I'm using an extension, which is HTMX SSE. So HTMX has a lot of extensions that just allow you to go and add like really more complex features, and the HTMX SSE allows us to to support server-side events and actually go and stream things in the interface. I won't go through all the details of it because there's a little bit of a setup to it. And frankly speaking, you can just go and read the code yourself. It's pretty straightforward overall. There's just like a few moving pieces. Obviously, there's the part where you do need to actually go and set up the endpoint for the SSE on your end here. So you need to actually go and have like a streaming endpoint. So there's a little bit of like, it depends on the language that you're going to use, how you actually go and do it. Here I'm just using a generator in Python, and obviously you also need to go and make a request to OpenAI that is actually a streaming request. But then beyond that, the way that you hook it up in the front end is first you load the SSE interface here, and then when we get our partial, we're still using more or less the same strategy that we had before, but instead of actually calling for an additional fragment like we had before with the assistant message that would just then load once it's actually ready, we're just going to go and stream directly the content from the OpenAI stream. And so here you can see that I have a SSE connect, which is basically the stream URL that we've actually go and defined in our backend. And then there's a swap strategy here. And I won't get into the details either. That's not super interesting. Oh yeah. There's also here I have to go and declare the extensions so that I have access to those additional attributes. And then also define how I actually go and close the SSE. So what this will do is basically it will close the server-side event connection once it's actually receiving the done event. And you should see that from the request. You'll see this streaming. You can see the events coming in. So let's see what I could actually go and ask. Is that better than React? And so what I get back from the streaming here is a bunch of events, right? And so you can see that I'm receiving the delta. There you go. It's still streaming. So it's struggling a little bit to display, but there, you're done. And then at the end, I receive event done. So these were all like the content as it goes, as it comes in, is being displayed. So you've got the data attributes here on each event. And then once you're done, you have done. And this is what we've actually declared in our backend here. In our front end, which is say close the SSE connection once you're actually done. So that's it. That's streaming basically done with HTMX. Super easy to do. I don't think there's very much else to it. Let me see. Yeah, there's a little bit more to it. If you look into some of the JavaScript code that I wrote there, it's not the best code that I've ever written, but it just shows you how to go and do some of the stuff. So for example, I have to do a little bit more work here to actually go and basically disable the submit button while we actually still in flight, still streaming things. But that's about it. I don't think it's that much for you to go and read and understand. But I don't think there's really much else to it. And then the last thing that I wanted to show you is less about HTMX, but showing you that you can actually go and, well, it's more about base code. So let me load step number 7. And this is where I'm just putting it all together with basically two layouts. So which is usually what you have on, like, for example, ChatGPT. When you first land, you actually go and have that single box, and then it directs you to then that UI that has all of your threads on the left side, and you can switch between them. I'm gonna go and have two of them. Is HTMX better than React? And you can see now I have like actually two of these. There's a little bit of plumbing there that goes obviously in the background to actually go and make it work. Um, and uh, and I won't go into it because it's also very fast API and Python specific. But yeah, I think the main interesting piece here is that I'm still using HTMX here for the navigation. And so I don't do a full refresh when I'm like navigating between new chat and the previous thread. As you can see, they actually go and come in as fragments here. Um, and that really helps like kind of speed things up. And the way that I'm doing this is using something called HX Boost, which I think is actually really great. I use it even on static sites because it's really a great way to actually go and get really fast loading. I'm using it, for example, on the base code website. And the way you do that is, let me go and show you the sidebar. The way you do that is basically have an attribute on the links that just says hxboost true. And so that means that it will try and go, and when you click on that link, rather than just reloading the whole page, it will just try and go and swap the content. And then I'm using two things. I'm using HX target, which is content, and content is basically this piece here, where you have the thread and the chat, I mean the message box. And I'm also telling it to select content. And what that means is that it will attempt to go and swap the content for that. I mean, the swap this content box here. And then what it'll do to actually go and swap the content is like when it gets the page coming back from the back end, because I don't actually go and do I don't use the HX request header to go and decide what to go and display, what to send back to the client. I'm just telling it in the client to just say, well, you just go and take the content piece of the content you got back from the back end, and then you swap that into the hashtag content. I mean the content block. So that's what it does. So with those two things, you can actually go and get this done without having to go and even modify your backend. That's actually pretty sweet. This one we have actually seen before. It's just a swap strategy, same as like adding before. I mean before and, for example, you just tell it to go and basically replace the entire element, including the outer div, and then a checks push URL is just so that we actually go and keep the updates in the URL here when we're actually going to switch, switching between the different threads or the front page. And yeah, that's what HX Boost is. You've already seen that. You probably noticed that one of the big things that we've not addressed today is the formatting of the content we get back from OpenAI. It's not too difficult to do, but really it's just it's really not that interesting. It's just using a couple markdown libraries. I'll probably add an additional step, like step 8, to go and show how to do that. But basically, it requires to hook up like a couple JavaScript libraries to do it, and do it, well enough that it's actually working as you actually stream content, right? Because obviously you get content that may be incomplete, so you may not have like the whole markdown. So there's a little bit of like potentially there's like edge cases there. And then you also need to go and add styling for the content itself. Like you actually need to go and have some amount of styling for to apply to H1s and lists and whatnot, so that it's actually looking good. But yeah, I didn't include it. I'll probably include it into a future version. But yeah, that's basically it. That's actually useful for some of you to learn how to use HTMX and understand the value of it. And yeah, just clone the repo and then start playing with it, and hopefully you become a HTMX addict as well. Um, yeah, have a good one.